Sorry about the mess.
Are you recording, Alex?
Hello, name's Butcher. Billy Butcher. The Supes lose hundreds of people each year as a collateral damage. Then, that's where I come in. Spank the bastards when they get out of line. I've got the boys back together.
We're the Seven, champions of the innocent. Mother...
That was diabolical! Howdy, boys. Well. About fucking time.
Hello and welcome to Boys Banter, Who Watches podcast about the Amazon Prime series The Boys. I'm Travis Fishburne.
I'm Alex Burnell.
And I'm Dustin Meadows.
And this week we will be covering Season 2, Episode 5. We Gotta Go Now. Yeah. So we are now in the back half of the season. Things are ramping up. We got Supes tracking down Billy Butcher. We got Billy Butcher tracking down his old friend, a dog named Terror. How did you guys like this episode?
Again, being someone who read the comics, I was very happy the second we saw the dog bed. And he asked about his boy because I was like, oh, he's not looking for a human boy. He's looking for the goodest boy. Because I remember reading, I think Eric Kripke had mentioned that they talked about doing Terror as a regular character before, but they would have had to like CGI to do it the way they do it in the comics. And they even tease it very briefly in season 1 because you see all the dog toys in the back of Butcher's car. But this episode, nothing else could have happened, and I would have been on board solely for finally getting to see Terror in all his drooly, jowly glory.
He was glorious, yeah. I dug this week. I was into it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I liked. I don't know. I never wanted to be this guy, but I'm missing more of the action out of this show that I was used to from the previous season. Although the stuff that we got this week, in particular, one moment that we got this week, I was like, "Yeah, tear his fucking face off!" But yeah, it was fucking awesome. I dug it. I liked the Butcher character work, and we'll get into it. But I liked it. What about you, Trav?
Yeah. Oh, I really liked it. I think this might be my favorite episode of the season thus far. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed everything that gets sprinkled in there, from, like you said, the terror stuff to them being on the set of the movie and all of the little drama that's going on behind the scenes there.
I love the movie set stuff, yeah.
And the little glimpses that we get into what's going on with the Deep. I really like it all.
Yeah. Which apparently I guess the Collective used to be a racist organization, if Starlight was ever a member. Not Starlight, the other one, the racist one. Stormfront. The other superhero.
I don't think it was racist so much. She made the comment that they started letting anybody in, and then specifically said that while talking to A-Train. I was like, oh no, they weren't racist. You're just racist all the time. That's how I took
That's a fair read. Yeah, that's a fair read.
Yeah, money spends the same no matter what color your skin is. So
that's a fact. That's a fact that religion's been exploiting for generations.
Oh yeah.
Hello. Sorry.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and dig into the episode. I am going to leave 2 of the plots off to the side, and we'll just cover them as their own character works later on, just because they don't really connect with the other plot as much. So I think that might help condense our discussion of them, so that we're not jumping around so much.
I dig.
So the episode opens with Maeve saving the day, and it's revealed to be on a film set in which they're shooting Dawn of the Seven. And Maeve has a tense scene with Homelander, and Ashley shows up with some footage of Homelander killing an innocent man while taking out a quote-unquote supervillain.
Right. I dug this a lot because because like I said, I want the public to see the Homelander that we see, because like having the public react positively to Homelander still constantly feels weird to me. And I like the veneer coming down. I liked what happened in this stuff later in the episode very much, actually. Yeah. And the stuff on set, that stuff's always just I hate to be this guy, but just like I love, even as before I worked in film, I loved watching like, movies and TV about making movies, and now I kind of love it even more because it's either like far too reflective of reality or it's just hilarious, inaccurate bullshit, and either way it's really amusing to me. So I still love movies about movies and TV shows.
Which side of the coin did this land on?
This side of the coin, aside from parts of it, like there's like dialogue in there that's like just lingo to make people think that the stuff that's said on set is the same. Nobody's checking any gates. There's no checking anything. There's been one production I've ever worked on where like after like important takes that the DP or whoever would have me like check the clip to make sure that the clip was okay. But there's no like checking the gate to make sure that it didn't that the film didn't get scratched and we have to redo it for technical reasons. That's just not a consideration. But I did really like the little portable 2-monitor apparatus that the director is carrying around. That is a correctly built real thing. That is pulled either straight from the camera department for those scenes, and that's like the real director's mini village that he walks around with, and it's just in the show. Or prop department did like an excellent job in renting actual equipment and putting it to its correct use for the sake of a prop.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw that and I was wondering about that thing.
I could tell you every piece that's on that thing.
Did anyone besides me for a brief second, the first time you saw the director in the wide shot, think that it might be Chris Gethard?
I did not.
No, just me. I just saw receding hairline, scrawny white glasses. I was like, oh man, that'd be cool if it was Chris Gethard. And it's just some very Chris Gethard looking like person.
Yeah, it's the same pinhead that was given that pitch a few episodes ago, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I love Ashley, begs Homelander, please don't do a press conference. We got PR taking care of it. Just let them do the job.
I kind of, it's terrible of an actual human being Ashley is. I kind of really love her in the show. I love watching her, like, almost dying of anxiety at literally any happening.
Yes. Yeah. Especially working with Homelander.
Totally. Like any interaction she has with Homelander, I'm like, is it now? Is now her vein gonna pop? Is she gonna have the aneurysm now?
I also love there's a line that Homelander says when Maeve comes to visit him, and he goes, "Oh, this new Joss rewrite really sings, eh?"
Yeah. Amazing how how Joss kind of used to be like one of our holy people, and he has fallen very far.
Yeah.
I'm always pro taking Joss Whedon down a peg.
Well, and they had to name drop him because it touches both the Avengers and Justice League.
Totally.
At this point, so like the only name to drop for this kind of a so then we see Butcher. He's in a bar, and just on a whim, he decides to attack Jason Momoa and ends up getting beaten to the ground for it.
Part of me, I kept trying to figure out two things during this scene. Was one, if it was a band that I actually recognized, and it wasn't. And then two, I had this brief idea in my head that he was going to try and fight the band. Because without even thinking about it, I made it up in my brain that it was a superhero band.
Oh.
But then he just punched a random guy and got his ass kicked. I was like, okay, no, he's just looking to get his ass beat. Got it.
Dude, I'd kind of love to see a Dragon Force show, except if Dragon Force were superheroes. Or they just if they had powers. I'd love to see a power metal show where the dudes have powers.
Just if Man of War was actually as Man of War as they pretend to be.
Yes, exactly.
It could be a spin-off. They could do that with this show.
The thing I didn't like about this scene had nothing to do with the scene, which was I liked seeing Butcher like just needing to get his aggression out and like just beating up on the tall guy standing at the very front of the stage. Always the correct person to beat up at a show.
Yep.
But I want to shame Amazon for this scene actually, because the stupid goddamn X-ray function that takes up half of the lower third of the screen every time I try to pause will often tell me what the song is that's playing in the scene. But in the scene where there's a fucking band playing, it doesn't say anything. It just said it's Carl Urban, Billy Butcher. I'm like, great, that I know that's Carl Urban. Thank you. I've been
I don't need to know that this is Dream On from Aerosmith. I know that.
Exactly. Oh yeah, we traded Billy Joel for Aerosmith this week.
I didn't know that that's what that was. Every time he just came up and said X-ray, I was just like, oh, okay, Amazon is just broken every time I try to pause a show.
Oh no, that's like a feature on Amazon where it'll tell you like who's in the scene. If you click on them, it'll tell you like other crap that they've been in and like a mini bio or something.
Yeah. It's actually a really nice, useful feature.
Yeah, it's not unuseful. I would like the option to turn it off so I don't see it when I pause every time.
That's the thing. Is like I've seen it come up occasionally with actors, but sometimes it'll just come up and it'll just say X-ray and there will be nothing. And then I just think that I've finally had a psychotic break.
You probably have.
Of some kind.
They're testing people.
I probably had a couple at this point.
I mean, speaking on that, we've had a few technical issues with Amazon in the subtitles, specifically with this series. The first scene that Kimiko has with her brother, where they're signing each other, it was halfway through, and I'm like, they're definitely saying stuff, and we're not seeing it. And my subtitle was set to auto, and I had to turn it completely on in order to understand what they were saying. And then the same thing happened in this episode with the Russian gangsters talking about Hamilton.
Oh yeah.
It was halfway through the scene and Sarah was like, we need to turn the subtitles on again.
That's so weird.
Yeah. I wonder if that's a device thing.
Yeah.
I noticed that a couple weeks ago I watched the hit thriller Switchback starring Huey's dad, Dennis Quaid. And all I can tell you about Amazon's closed captioning is that their captionist needs fucking fired. Oh boy, I've never seen such just poor translation and grammar on closed captions outside of anything before. So.
Well noted. I saw Dennis Quaid walking his dog once about a year ago. He looked very Dennis Quaid-y.
Yeah, is he as dreamy as I think?
He looked very at home out in the neighborhood walking his dog. So wherever it was, somewhere in Pasadena. He must have lived there for have lived there for like a very long time for him to be that casual looking and walking around. True stories of Dennis Quaid. That's what you guys come to the podcast for, is to hear true lame claim to fame LA stories.
I mean, it does make me happy to know that Dennis Quaid is happy. So
yeah, the dog looked nice.
And then we see Butcher. He's icing himself with some Homelander peas, and he gets a call from Huey. And Huey gives him the info on what they found out about Liberty, and then Butcher tells him he's going to be going off the grid. And then Huey gets off the phone and goes and he finds Mother's Milk watching a show called Eat My Dick. Which looks like a lovely show.
That's one of my favorite jokes in this episode.
Yeah. Tells them about a call with Butcher, and Mother's Milk tells him to just give him all the details.
Right. And then they're able to deduce, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that based on this scene, we see that Vought also has their hand in produce, too.
Well, do we think that's Vought produce, or do we think it's like a Jolly Green Giant Star Wars tie-in kind of a thing?
So there's a sign over the freezer that says like Vought Foods.
Disgusting.
Yeah, it says like Vought Fresh, I think.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
Yeah, because like I thought that, I was like, oh, this is just a tie, and then like as Butcher's walking away, because he passes by like the cardboard stand of Maeve next to deodorant or whatever it is, and then you just see like fresh on the over the coolers. Like
I missed
wow, jeez, yeah, they really got there. I've just been super vigilant about that stuff because again, like just the world building.
Yeah.
With the show has been really great.
I mean, I missed that because I was reading Maeve's cutout of her. It was her eau de toilette. It was her perfume.
Ah, yes.
So
I knew it was something similar, something that
you
makes
can buy
smell.
in like Rite Aid, like any classy product.
Yeah. And then back on the set of Dawn of the Seven, we see Starlight, Stormfront, and Maeve shooting a scene where girls get it done.
Girls do it.
Yeah. With special guest Greg Grunberg as Agent Pearson.
Yes! I was like, did JJ do this one?
Yeah.
That was exactly what I did. I stopped and I was like, wait a minute, J.J. Abrams isn't involved in this show. What the hell? I was very
That's
confused.
the way
for a
Greg
moment.
Grunberg gets work.
Yeah.
I love when Greg Grunberg.
Which, I mean, good for him.
Yeah.
I'm glad Greg Grunberg's getting that money.
Yeah, me too. I love Grunny.
And then the shot of all the girls together looks, I mean, very similar to a shot in Avengers Endgame where a similar thing happens.
Yeah. That's
with all the
very
girls
true.
getting it done.
And then we see Butcher.
So wait a second though. I do want to bring up. So like they have already worked in Maeve's sexuality into this movie because we saw this movie pitched like 3 episodes ago, right?
Yeah.
And then it was only in the last episode that her orientation is kind of exploded. So like that's how fast that machine is working, that it's like creating an entire subplot for her that didn't exist before to make her this like loud and proud lesbian figure. And which like obviously there's more to say about that in the rest of the episode, and this like very gross like bi-washing that they try to do with her and her relationship with Elena. Yeah.
Yeah, and they even work on like A-Train getting fired,
Right.
which happened last episode too.
Right. It just I'm curious to like one thing I would like to know, like within the realm of the boys universe, like how many writers are in that writers room that are turning out these fucking major ass revisions to your script so fast.
Yeah. Like, we've got one of the original guys died. He's being replaced. Okay. Or making one of the characters gay. Oh, and one of them's leaving. Oh, okay.
And that's all like after sets are being built.
Yes. And then Butcher pays a visit to his Aunt Judy and his dog Terror. And Terror and Butcher go for a walk. Butcher tells him how foolish he was to expect him and Becca to stay together.
Yeah.
This is a good scene. I like this because we get a little bit more insight into Butcher too at the beginning. Because I think it's when he first shows up that Judy mentions his parents are flying over.
Yeah.
And she says something about his father's cancer spreading, and his remark to it is just not fast enough, or something very much in that vein. I was like, "Oh, Butcher's got daddy issues like some of us. That's fun."
The idea of Butcher having any family aside from Becca literally never occurred to me until this episode.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things I noticed looking ahead. One of the episodes is titled Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker, which in the comics is his like little 6-issue miniseries that basically delves into his past and his family and how he hates his dad and all that shit. So I'm real curious if we're just gonna get like a full Butcher episode this season.
I dig.
I like that at the beginning of the scene, Judy gives one of her neighbors some saltwater taffy because thank God Ron can't live without it. Which, knowing what the taffy really is now, when I watched the scene again, I was like, oh, this is funny.
Yeah, Ron probably cannot live without it.
No. And then we see A-Train turning in a rewrite of his farewell scene, which the director promptly shuts down. And just tells him to enjoy some Vietnamese crepes.
Was that in this scene? No.
This is such a great scene.
That was in that scene. Yeah, he told him to try the
Vietnamese.
gluten.
So Vietnamese crepes is this episode's fresca?
Yes.
Okay.
or almond joy.
Or almond joys. Okay. That's a weird thing this show does.
So fucking hard.
Gross.
I tried to clean it up because I thought the other one was too vulgar.
Enjoy. So fucking hard.
Yeah, this director of this movie reminds me of a director that I've worked for 2 times and said I would never work for again, and then have not. Guy sucks.
Well, you're doing it.
Yeah.
You're living it.
I'm living it. I mean, like, but the difference is that's like an Avengers level movie. The movies I worked with this guy on were like $300,000 movies or something. Like, you know, nickel and dime dirt movies.
That's right. You hear that? Alex Brunel's got no patience for you, Mark Duplass.
If we're talking about output, yes, correct.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And then Butcher gets a visit from Mother's Milk and Huey, who try to get him to help them.
Right, like they show up at his aunt's house.
Yeah.
Mother's Milk like figures out by the fact that he mentioned that he heard a dog toy squeaking. Like, oh, he must be visiting his dog, the only other thing he likes in the world.
Your consent's tingling, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that MM, and he's just playing the comics too. MM is just a fucking amazing detective.
Yeah,
like he's just Batman, which is great.
And I want to see more of that in the show because I feel like we haven't actually gotten to see that in action so much.
Yeah, I'd be all for that. And they even do, like, they work like a couple of cases like over the course of the comics, but I feel like it's probably too much of a diversion to try and shoehorn that stuff in with the way they're doing everything.
Sure.
I mean, they've already burned through so many of like the big reveals in less than 2 seasons at this point. So I'm real curious to see where they're going to go with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Butcher sees that Black Noir's tracked him down, and then Mother's Milk calls in a gas leak so that there's an audience, and it buys him a little bit of time. Mm-hmm. He formulates a plan.
I like that Black Noir is just hiding on a rooftop in broad daylight.
I love that.
Does not move from this spot.
Like when they first cut up to him, I just think of like those fake wood cutout monsters that people decorate their houses with for Halloween.
Yeah. I thought initially that he was like looking in his mirror and like seeing like a domed security camera looking at the house, like as if like Vought like, you know, tracked up Butcher's family and like just put a camera there to see if he would show up. And then like the zoom in, the punch in, and then like it's I can cut to it because you made it the title card. And then like we see Black Noir like just huddled on this rooftop, and it was so funny to me. Black Noir is still such a funny character to me.
Oh yeah. Just all body language.
Yeah, kind of great.
And then in this scene, we also find out that the pig that Huey's holding is something special to Terror. It's his.
It's his fuck pig.
Yep.
Fuck pig.
Well, I love it. She first says, "Oh, that's Terror's girlfriend, huh?" It's his fuck pig.
Yeah, like is girlfriend unclear?
Yeah, I figured it out. Yeah, 'cause that's the other thing with Terror. We see this later towards the end of the episode too. Terror exists basically for Butcher to sick him on things to fuck. Like it happens pretty much every other issue in the comic.
That's hilarious.
Like Butcher's just like, "Oi, Terror, fuck it," and Terror fucks it.
Yeah, and I guess with this dog, the dog was supposed to actually hump the pig in this episode. Like this dog was trained to hump things. And for whatever reason, on the day of shooting, they could not get it to do it.
Oh, wow.
Performance anxiety. It happens to the best of us sometimes, you know?
Speaking from doggy experience.
And then
I love... Can we just go back? Like,
Yeah.
somebody showed up to set several times, worked with this dog, trained it for the sole purpose of fucking inanimate objects, and they drew a paycheck.
Totally.
Yeah.
That person is my hero.
If you knew any animal trainers, I don't know if you would maintain that declaration.
Well, probably not, because other animal trainers are terrible. And at least as far as I know, Bart the bear was never trained to fuck anything. So, at least not that Anthony Hopkins is willing to tell us. But
Oh man, I love that movie, just for its existence, not because
So
I
good.
think it's a good movie. The bear outacts Hopkins and Baldwin.
I mean, that bear is fucking amazing.
I don't even remember what the name of this movie we're blathering about is now. I'm sorry.
That would be The Edge, written
Oh.
by David Mamet,
Correct. The Edge. The Edge.
which I do genuinely love that movie.
yeah, and then we see Starlight. She finds her mom sharing a meal with Stormfront.
Oh my
Stormfront
God.
tries to get them to reconcile right in front of her.
I hate Stormfront.
Yeah,
Yeah, which one
Stormfront
do you
fucking
hate more at this
sucks.
point? A Homelander or Stormfront?
Kind of Stormfront, because she's
Yeah.
so goddamn smug.
Yeah. Well, she's like manipulative too. I mean, not
Yeah.
that Homelander isn't.
No, Homelander is, but Homelander is in like this very kind of old school way that's easier for me as a person watching a character to just be like, he ticks boxes and punches buttons, but not in a way that like makes me like, oh, you fucker, in the way that she does.
Yeah, she knows it, or she does it all knowingly.
Yeah.
She knows how terrible she is, and
Right.
like he's manipulative. Where Homelander is just immature and reactionary, like a big toddler.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he's got an inferiority complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing too, is like at this point we know what makes Homelander tick. Like, we know that Stormfront sucks and is awful, but we don't have a whole lot of insight into the why of that yet.
Right.
Just that she does in fact suck hard.
She does, in fact, suck hard.
Yeah.
I want to suck your so fucking hard.
Ah, what a treasure trove of audio bites.
Yeah, and then Maeve and Elena listen as the Vought marketing guys try to change their public image, which
Yeah, this scene was very vexing, and Alex mentioned the bi-washing earlier, because like bi-erasure is a very real thing, not just in like the LGBT community, but in fiction too. Like,
Yeah.
frequently, characters are pushed to be one or the other, and I'm hard pressed to think of a lot of popular contemporary fiction that has bi characters who maintain that, as opposed to being shoehorns like, no, you're either lesbian or you're gay.
Right.
So yeah, it's and just watching the way that these I guess they're writers that are sitting here pitching all this idiotic stuff. Like, it's just vexing watching that shit. I was like, this probably happens all the time.
Oh yeah, and that was like, there's it's not in terms of like a character's sexuality, but in the movie The Long Shot with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron, which I enjoyed a surprising amount. I thought
I've
it was
heard really good things about that
it's a
movie.
pretty
Yeah,
damn
I
solid
liked it a
movie.
lot.
But there is this section where like where they're basically discussing like, look, we can be public, but you have to go through like my team, and they'll fix you up with this image or blah blah blah. So he's like, okay, so we can be together if I'm not me. And like, there is a microcosm of that within this scene when Elena has that reaction, like, why am I wearing a fucking pantsuit? Well, you see, one of you has to be the masculine in the group, blah 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 blah. And it's just like, you know, that shit is so hateful and makes me angry to see.
Yeah. Americans are more accepting of gays when they're in a clear-cut gender role relationship, like
Right.
Ellen and Portia.
Yeah. Which, like, yeah, it sucks. I mean, it just sucks. It's the way pop culture and American culture is at the moment, and we hope it's changing for the better as time goes on. But like, it sucks, and and this show is really great because it doesn't shy away from, like, the show is obviously not taking those stances,
No,
but it's not shying away from showing us that is reality. In a lot of respects, it's not with superheroes, but most certainly, like, you know, I guarantee you image consultants came in on, like, you know, how Ellen and Portia should be presented to the public. 1,000,000% that happened.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, and just like the fact that kind of crap is real, and this show is reflecting it in a way that I think not necessarily a lot of people have thought of, I think is really good. But at the same time, it pisses me off to have to watch it because I know it's a reflection of reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so Elena like leaves, and Maeve tells her that they're going to be, you know, working to take Homelander down. So just an interesting concept.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what Maeve's play is. Very curious.
Yeah.
And then Huey is finishing up Mother Milk's homemade shrapnel explosive.
So good.
Butcher tells him that when the time comes, he's going to sacrifice himself so that they can get away. But then both Huey and Mother's Milk won't let him leave. So.
Yeah, and it's this nice push-pull, and we get this, and that's when they're in the basement, right? This is the basement scene?
Not in the basement yet.
Oh, okay.
They're still upstairs.
Oh, they're still upstairs. Then we'll talk about the basement when we get to the basement. But, yeah, I loved Mother's Milk and Mother's, like, earlier in the episode, I loved his, like, do you have A, B, C, D, E, and F? Please, and thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as soon as we cut in and we see Huey working on that, I still said, "Oh, they're gonna Home Alone him," and then Huey said,
Yeah.
like Home Alone, except way less delightful.
Yes.
Yeah. I definitely, one of my favorite parts was when Black Noir takes a paint can straight to the dome. Pretty great scene.
I wish we had seen that. I wish we had cut back upstairs and when like Black Noir comes out from the shadows, like he's half covered in white paint.
Yes. His hair is all like charred and sticking up like a racer head and shit.
Oh, that would have been good.
Another good line in this scene is Butcher telling Huey, expecting a happy ending, were we? Well, I'm sorry, Huey. It ain't that kind of massage parlor.
That's a good line, yeah.
Yeah, God, like Butcher is really working overtime to just be an asshole these last couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad that they're push him into being better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really like how Carl Urban's playing it, because he's very obviously playing it as a defense mechanism. Like,
yes, clearly.
Like earlier in the episode, like he like almost breaks through on that phone call with Huey and talks to him like human to human in a way that he doesn't generally. Mm-hmm. Like he almost does, and the closest he get is like, "You're like my canary. Goodbye."
Yeah.
You know, and like that's the closest you can get out of Butcher, really. But like I do like that. Like I do really like how Carl Urban's playing it. He's doing an excellent.
Oh yeah, he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we cut to Stormfront being real condescending to A-Train.
Oh my God.
And then Ashley comes and talks just to tell A-Train that he needs to do the scene as written to save his dignity. And then we see him go on set and he performs his Paul Walker and Fast 7 moment.
And it seemed
he wishes it was as good as his Paul Walker and Fast 7.
And
that wasn't even written.
I really liked the interaction between him and Ashley. I loved Ashley finally coming out on top even if like I don't like, I don't like her, I don't think she's a good person as a character, but like
No.
I like finally you have some kind of a win. Like somebody is listening to the thing you're telling them to do. Like I feel like you needed this so you don't go home and shoot yourself in the brains tonight. But yeah, I like that scene. I like that scene, and I liked. I think A-Train did that once, and they were like, "Yeah, great, let's move on."
Yeah, because the director came up to him afterwards. He's like, "Oh my gosh, that's so great! We can do, if you feel like you got another one in you and you want to do it, we can do." And he's like, "No, I don't think." He's like, "All right." I mean, he's just like, "Let's move it."
Clearly, does not care.
No.
Yep.
And I definitely saw the thing about that being a double for Homelander like a mile away. That guy's a pretty good from the back Homelander, like pretty solid. His head's a little too wide. That was a giveaway.
I saw a behind the scenes photo of last week's episode where it's a little Homelander on Homelander action, and I wonder if this is the guy who played the Homelander double in that scene.
Yeah, like I wonder if it's actually like I guess we could look it up, but I wonder if that's if that's Homelander's stand-in.
Mm-hmm.
If that's Anthony Starr's stand-in.
Could be. And then we also see a little glimpse in the background. We see the Vought Studios logo, which looks very similar to the Marvel Studios logo.
Yeah, the VCU.
Yep.
VCU.
And then we go to the protest outside the tower where Homelander shows up, and then things start going south and everyone begins shouting, "You don't speak for us." And then Homelander loses it and kills hundreds of people with this laser eyes.
Yeah.
Which this time it was revealed to be a daydream.
Yeah.
For a split second, I thought it was like, there's no way they're uncorking this thing on episode 5 of this season.
I really, really wanted them to.
I would have been all for it, but I was like, I don't think they're committing to this just yet. I think we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah,
like
still-
the middle
still
of
a
an
great
episode,
scene.
if it happened, like if this were the last scene, I'd be like,
Yeah.
This was-
Yeah, absolutely. But with like 15, 20 minutes to go, probably not.
Probably not. But yeah, that's Senator. Is that supposed to be like our AOC analog in the show?
That's kind of what I took away from it. That's how I viewed it.
Yeah. That's what it kind of seemed to me. I dug this scene. I mean, like I always love watching a person dig their own grave in front of a crowd.
Oh yeah, it's so good. And just like watching him stumble over himself, like especially when the soldier turns on him.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And then he goes into a hallway and he has a mental breakdown as he's rewatching everything.
Yeah. Loved that too.
Yeah.
And then afterwards he goes to visit Stormfront and she shows him some memes that she'll have sent out to get circulating to save his image.
That her meme farm.
The
cooked
latest
up.
from the meme farm. I do. One thing I want to say really quick: the scene with Homelander having the breakdown in the hallway, watching the video, very similar to the one that Black Noir had a few episodes ago when the news of Compound V leaked.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Is Dustin hinting at anything?
Maybe, maybe not. At this point, I would be just as surprised if the show didn't go that way. But
And then Homelander. Oh, we already got that. Okay.
well, we'll have to wait.
Yeah. Well, and then when he goes to visit Stormfront, at the beginning of that scene, Stormfront is having a conversation with a nurse, it looks like, from the Sage Grove Center. And they're having a very cryptic conversation. And I was really hoping that more would be revealed about this character and what's going on before the end of the episode, but it wasn't. So that's another thing we have to dance around.
Just a bit of a tease.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a cryptic conversation with Iceman, no less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iceman,
The
playing
Sean Ashmore from the X-Men movies.
Yeah.
and he's playing with a lighter just like Pyro did in X2.
X-Men references abound.
Yeah.
A franchise directed by rapists and other rapists. Not Matthew Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn, I think, is okay.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh no, please don't tell me anything bad.
No, I'm just talking about
Mangold.
the other two.
Yeah, the other two. The first
Yeah,
the
Singer
first
and
two.
Ratner.
Yeah, those ones.
Yeah. I can't handle bad news about Matthew Vaughn. I'm still waiting on that new Kingsman.
I just watched Kingsman for the first time the other day.
Oh, really?
I liked it.
So much fun.
That was one of my favorite movies of that year. That came out.
Yeah, that was the sleeper hit of the year for me because I saw a trailer. I was like, I'll go see this, and then I saw it twice in the same week. I was like, this is fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Golden Circle's okay, but the first one I love.
I've heard the second one's bad. The first one I liked it. I don't think I loved it, but I enjoyed watching it. The fight scenes were fantastic.
Yeah, the fight scenes are amazing, and Colin Firth like playing against type while still kind of playing type is perfect.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
But yeah, Golden Circle's not bad. It's just not as good, I think. But that's talk for another Kingsman podcast.
Welcome to the Boys Podcast.
Yes.
I had no idea when I was watching that movie in February that I was getting more of a performance out of Mark Hamill than I would be getting in The Force Awakens later that year.
Yeah. And that was something as I was watching it with my roommate. That was something that he pointed out to me. He was like, "Yeah, I never thought you'd see a scene with Mace Windu and Luke Skywalker, did you?" And I'm like, "No, I did not."
Mace Windu doing his best Mike Tyson impression.
I loved Sam Jackson in that movie. Oh my god.
Oh, he's amazing.
And I'm sorry for diverging the podcast like this, but I do remember thinking like early in the movie when like his philanthropic goal, when he's first talking about like, you know, what his philanthropic goals were and why he stepped back, I'm like, you know, I'm sure I'm going to disagree with what he does, but I kind of probably like 10% agree. With whatever he winds up doing, I probably like a little bit agree.
Yeah. And then every movie film is just like, the Earth kind of sucks. We need to make it better. It's like, well, God damn it, I don't disagree with you completely.
Yeah. All right, back to L Boys.
Yeah. So a little bit of what Stormfront
boys.
and Sean Ashmore were talking about. Here's the lines as they are presented in the scene.
Okay.
No one ever said the job was easy. And then he says, look, he's just a kid, 17 years old. You don't have to look him in the face. And then she says, no one's ever achieved anything without sacrifice. The kid's a hero. Look at it like that. And that's all we get as to what's going on there. So
but
sweet.
The way that I took that, at least where my brain went, I think somebody survived the tenement massacre who saw what really happened. That's or a very similar incident.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was going on with it.
I'd buy that.
Yeah, and then Judy takes the boys to the taffy room while their traps for Black Noir are sprung. And while they're waiting, Huey asks Judy about a guy named Lenny that she says he reminded her of. And we learn that Lenny was Butcher's little brother who would always step in and keep him from going off the rails. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like Lenny didn't have a good ending.
No.
Nope. For a brief second, I thought Lenny was going to be Lenny from Of Mice and Men. Like, I could see Butcher saying something like that, but
yeah.
And I was like, oh no, she said that, so it's probably not where it's going, but I can't hear the name Lenny and not think of Mice and Men, so.
That's funny. My mind goes to Lenny and Squiggy.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting. I just
Napkin
think
nose with a rubber hose.
I just think Lenny from The Simpsons.
All good Lennys.
Yeah. Our definitive ranking of the 3 Lennys.
Yeah. Lenny Bruce is not part of this conversation.
Get out of here, Lenny Bruce. You didn't make the cut. You're number 4, buddy.
And then the bombs go off, but then they continue to hear footsteps. So they go up and get out of the house, and Butcher stays behind. And then Mother's Milk and Huey come in and try to help him and shoot Black Noir, but it's not working. And then before Noir can kill Huey, Butcher tells him that he's got pictures of Homelander's bastard kid that will go out all over the internet if he kills Huey.
Yeah, take that, Black Noir.
Yeah. And then he gets to have a little conversation with Stanley Edgar. And then they call a truce, and Edgar calls off Noir.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff kind of going on in this scene. First of all, just visually, I loved like the last we see of the house before they go in the taffy room. Oh, which is a drug manufacturing facility, correct? Okay, just so we're clear on that. She's
basement drug lab.
Yeah, it's Aunt what's her name? It's
Judy.
Aunt Judy's drug lab, where she is supplying probably some kind of opioids, I would think, to her old people community. That you know,
it looks like a little bit of everything in there.
Yeah. So there's that. I thought that was interesting. But like I loved like because it's a very picturesque little house when we're up there before we go into the basement, and then we come back up and it's just like this, complete flaming wreck. And I loved just like the visual AB of that. I thought the flaming wreck version of the house looked really fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we get the reprise of like Butcher's humanity, where like they're still not going to leave him even after all this. They're still not going to leave him behind, even though like literally like what are those guys going to do? Like Mother's Milk, I could understand like holding his own in a fight against Black Noir for like 15 to 30 seconds perhaps, but Huey is just like dead on the floor before he even knows what's going on. But
he misses the majority of the shots until Noir literally puts his hand over the gun.
Right.
Yep. I mean, sometimes you miss 100% of the shots that you do take. So,
I liked again seeing more Butcher's humanity in this scene. He's not going to let his friends die. He's going to throw out that last ditch effort, whether he has these pictures or not.
Oh, come on then.
Yeah.
I like too. One of the things that they're leaning on so heavily in the show, because they didn't go the route of the boys taking like diluted compound V to be able to go toe to toe, is that like blackmail is basically their currency and the only weapon they have against them.
Yeah.
Which is definitely making for a way more interesting dynamic in the show, because in the comics they have plenty of like just out and out fistfights here and there, but this keeping them in danger and us really not knowing if they're going to come out of it okay is a really great decision, I think, that they've made with the show.
Yeah, agree.
I also like that Black Noir's costume is just low budget Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. I don't think we've addressed that yet.
He looks like do you remember that Nick Fury movie with
David Hasselhoff?
With David Hasselhoff from Fox in 1997?
I am probably the only person in the world that can answer yes to that question, but yes.
It looks like a costume out of that, or it looks like a costume out of like the unaired Justice League pilot from the same year. Like it looks like that grade of costume, and I love it. I'm very there for it.
Oh man, do you think it's Ray Park in there?
Oh, I hope it's Ray Park in there. I hope that it's not even a character. I hope it's just Ray Park as Black Noir.
Ray Park got injected with compound V after episode 1.
True. Little known fact: Darth Maul's character arc is based on Ray Park's life. Loosely adapted.
So Ewan McGregor's going to cut him in half soon.
Oh, that already happened. No. What I'm saying is like the years that we didn't see a lot of Ray Park, like post X-Men, is he was like living as a spider person in caves
and garbage. Yeah.
And he's since come back.
Oh God, what's the last thing he did? Was it G.I. Joe?
I don't even know.
It was Solo when he played Darth Maul.
Oh yeah.
Good moment.
Yeah.
Solo, a good movie. Thank you.
Sleepy Hollow's Ray Park.
I'm being serious about Solo. I think Solo's a good movie.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
I think the parts that I could see what was going on were pretty good.
The first time I saw it, the projector bulb I could tell was old, and the second time I saw it in like one of those laser projection theaters, and it was a totally different experience.
That was kind of similar to my experience, except it just looked like that until they got to the desert. It was like, all right, I don't think it's the projector. I think maybe they just didn't light some of this stuff very well.
Come for the boys' chat, stay for the diverging topics.
Yes. And then Starlight sneaks into Stormfront's trailer and hacks into her computer. And
Hacks.
Then Stormfront shows up, and Starlight goes off on her about trying to, amend her mother's relationship. And then Stormfront calls her out on the BS and tells her she knows about Compound V. And then Starlight shows her cards and tells her she knows about Liberty. And then Homelander shows up to kind of break the tension.
Yeah.
Which
I like.
That never happens. Homeland never shows up to break tension, but
just makes it worse. I like that based on this scene and almost every other scene with a computer password, we're led to believe that people only use things for passwords that are within view of the computer.
Yeah. I do want to say, on the topic of accurate computer usage in media, literally one of the only movies I've seen where a computer is a major part of it and it's used like a real computer the whole movie is the movie Unfriended, which I think is actually legitimately a solid freaking movie. The second one does not do the same. The second one has that same password crap right at the beginning of the movie, and I'm like, that's not how computers work. I automatically don't like your movie. The first one, though.
The second one, that was Dark Web, right?
Yes. I happened to see a private screening of that film, by which I mean I was the only person in the theater to see Unfriended Dark Web.
Sounds like it was similar to my viewing of The Adventures of Pluto Nash.
oh,
nice. Even when I saw Master of Disguise, there were other people in the theater.
Yes, all the children who will get Dana Carvey's Jaws and fucking Godfather jokes.
And then when he bites the nose off that guy and pretends to be a turtle.
Oh my god, the turtle scene is so fucking funny. Yeah, I'm not here to defend Master of Disguise.
We're just here to pour one out for Brett Spiner.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when she's in the computer, you see there are a bunch of emails with the subject line Sage Grove.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all having to do with that place. And it's blurred, but you can tell that all of the emails are from Stanley Edgar. So.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that deep. It's whatever his game is within Vought that he's using Stormfront for. It's all the same thing.
Interesting. I missed that.
One thing about this scene that I was like, I'm not rolling my eyes, but like thought a little bit critically of. It's like I'm kind of sick of seeing Starlight like 75% achieving trying to bullshit someone. It happens in like every episode where she has to like lie to one of her colleagues or an authority figure about some aspect of something that she's doing, and Erin Moriarty is great, but she always plays it the same way, which is just like, in that way it's like, oh, we know you're lying, but do they know you're lying? You know, like I'm just kind of a little sick of seeing this like in every interaction, and I don't know what the answer is there, but I'm just like, okay, yes, I've seen this part.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the trickier things, because they don't find out about her and Huey until almost the end of the series. And that's the other thing too, is Huey doesn't even know that she's Starlight until almost the end too.
Oh, interesting.
And she and by the same token, she doesn't know that he's involved with the boys. So that's definitely one of the problems they've created for themselves by cutting into it so early. But hopefully they'll find a way to work around that.
Yeah.
Because I agree, we're definitely getting a lot of those same kind of beats with her.
Yeah, and it's not like it's handled badly. It's just like literally it's like the same thing happening over and over again in a different place.
Yeah,
about
exactly.
a different lie.
It's like, what'd you lie about this week to who?
Right. That's all. I would just like to break away from that a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And then we see Butcher. He promises Terror that he is going to be getting Becca back. And then he gives him a new toy before driving off with a Huey and a Mim. And before leaving, he tells Terror,
Terror? Fuck it.
And it was a Homelander doll, right?
it was.
Yep. As soon as he pulled out that Homelander plush, I was like, "Oh, here comes the line, finally!" Yeah, that was great. That was definitely one of my favorite moments of the entire episode.
Yeah. And then as the stuffed Homelander gets fucked by an English bulldog, we see the real Homelander getting fucked by a sociopathic racist.
Yeah. In another scene that was just like, okay, I didn't not expect this, but I didn't totally expect this. So that was fun. Getting the two most hateful characters on the show to fuck each other.
I like that the showrunner said, let's do with superheroes in this sex scene what Team America did with puppets in their sex scene. and just do everything that you don't see in normal sex scenes.
Yeah.
As soon as they were floating in midair, I was like, finally, we get a superhero movie not afraid to show it like it is.
I think the only other time I can remember seeing something like that was in Snyder's Watchmen. When Manhattan and Silk Spectre are sleeping together at one point, or having sex at one point. It's very floaty and celestial. And that's like the only like superhero sex I can think of aside from these two hateful characters hate fucking each other.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, later in that same movie, you get Night Owl and Silk Spectre.
That's true. So, Zack Snyder, good for something, I guess. I like one Zack Snyder movie. I mean, it's like I like one Zack Snyder movie, so I can't totally trash the dude. It's Dawn of the Dead.
I was about to say, it's Dawn of the Dead, right?
It's the only good movie he's made. Other people can argue about Watchmen to me, but I don't care.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie. I'll give it that much.
It does exist.
You see them like throwing each other around. Sarah said it reminded her of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
With the amount of simultaneous sex and destruction, a little bit of shoot 'em up in there too.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, solid. Yeah, a little taking a page from Clive Owen and Monica Bellucci.
Yeah.
Which, ironically, like this scene did not feature any milk.
It did not.
Yeah. Which already makes it the best Homelander scene out of the entire series because there's no creepy milk involved.
Yeah. No creepy milk in this episode, thankfully.
Yeah.
Milk is so creepy now.
Don't be a pussy. Laser my fucking tits.
Which it could be argued maybe he thought he was warming up some milk.
In this week's episode of Bad Women's Anatomy with Homelander.
Yeah, he looked at her by milk, lemonade. Yeah, I got this. I know where everything is.
Yeah, that was great. Their whole thing in this, like all of it, I totally bought. I'm like, yeah, this is absolutely what would happen if these characters started making out. Like this is the only logical way it goes. I also love
when she's straight up and baiting him for the last couple episodes.
Yeah, totally.
Too.
And I loved the punctuation with the floating at the end too, because I loved the top half fully clothed and they're still wearing boots, but they are pantsless. So like they got their boots, they got their capes, they got their everything else, they got their gloves, no pants.
Straight Donald Duck in it.
Yes, exactly.
I like to see too, because prior to this episode, had we established that like invulnerability was one of her powers?
We didn't know how strong she was. I don't think it had
like
been displayed.
we knew she was strong, but we didn't know like if she was bulletproof or what.
I mean, I feel like number one, even though she said don't hold back, I feel like Homelander probably was not giving 100% to his lasers.
For sure.
And I also feel like, you know, if he had kept at it, he would have bored a hole through her eventually. But
yeah.
But we did get a good idea. I mean, that would have destroyed anyone.
Yeah, because that's the thing too, is it seems less like she's invulnerable and more that she's got like an advanced healing, like Wolverine kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like to me too.
Yeah, because like the burns heal up real quick.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's more like that than bulletproof or whatever else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's the episode with like our main players, and then we've got some other stuff that was going off on the side throughout.
Other stuff.
So with Kimiko and Frenchie, we see some Russian mobsters arguing about Hamilton, and then Kimiko shows up and wreaks havoc. Trailing her. And then he discovers that Cherie is sending Kimiko out on hits, and he tries to plead with her that this isn't who she is, and very un-Mandalorian-like says, "This is not the way," blaming herself for letting her brother die.
Right. Yeah.
I don't give a shit about Hamilton, but I genuinely enjoyed the scene with the Russians debating the merits of it.
I did too.
I was like, this is pretty great. This is good. And just one of them just is like, no, you don't understand like the metaphor for immigration and blah, 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 whatever else he was saying. It's like, this is perfect. I can handle this kind of conversation about Hamilton. I just don't want to hear, regular white people talk about it. Because almost every white person that talks to me is like, well, you like hip hop, don't you? No, I've never listened to hip hop ever. Is Hamilton real hip hop? Is that what it is? Fuck out of here. I had Wu-Tang's first album in middle school. Get off my jock.
I love that. I've known you for like 15 plus years now, Dustin. You've been saying "get off my jock" that whole time.
It's fun. It's fun to say. It's like swearing without swearing.
Yeah,
People
it's
can't
great.
yell at you for saying it.
I'm like legitimately enjoy hearing you say it.
Yeah, it's like
I'm gonna suck you
Almond Joy?
so fucking hard.
I also love that Kimiko rips off the guy's face, because in the comic, that's like one of the moves she does, is she rips off
Yeah.
faces.
And that's like really one of the most, if not the most graphic and realistic looking depictions of a face being ripped off in real time that I think I've seen in a movie or TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty gnarly. I liked that it was like half face, half throat.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a Roadhouse move.
Yeah.
Which I can appreciate. or technically a MacGruber move, depending on which altar you worship at.
Yes.
For me, it's both. So. But yeah, that stuff with her was great. And that's another thing. Like in the comics, essentially, when she's between stuff with the boys, she is just killing Russian mobsters for whatever reason.
Great, why not? Kill them. Rip their
And
fucking
then,
face off.
And then with the Deep, we see, and I loved everything they handled with the Deep this episode, because
Me too.
you see what's going on with him, and they use it as transitions. The first one being on Extra. It's playing in the background of the scene with the mobsters, with Nancy O'Dell giving news about the Deep's marriage. So that's on TV, and then we get another segment of an interview with Katie Couric interviewing the Deep and his new wife, which, I mean, yeah, this is like Tom Cruise going on Oprah and making the rounds.
It is.
Go ahead. I think I know where you're going next.
Yeah, then the Deep promoting the Church of the Collective, going around saying, "Hey, dude, that's not cool," to a guy assaulting a woman.
I laughed so hard at that moment.
That commercial is so good. Hey, knock that off.
And then the scene where it's the homeless outreach, but it's not with food. It is just it is food for the soul.
They said there would be food here. God, that was so good, that scene.
Yeah, and just one of my favorite moments in that scene. No, definitely my favorite moment in that scene where Maeve is just like, I think just do what I'm gonna do, like do this thing with me, and I think people won't think you're this big of a piece of shit. And he's like, you think I'm a piece of shit? Oh fuck yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, and right when she first shows up, he he says, like, I feel like he asked her if she wants to join or something. She was like, Jesus, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he had to like put on this kind of. It's like, oh, are you really interested in that? She's like, no.
Yes. Yeah, that whole scene is so good. I'm real excited to see what else they do with the Church of the Collective, because that is not a thing in the comics at all.
Nice.
It's completely this original thing that they came up with for the show that is very quickly becoming one of my favorite angles they've taken so far.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like Maeve, joining up with the Deep, obviously to do something against Homelander. So that's going to be interesting.
Is the Deep gonna just launch an army of dolphins at Homelander?
We know he's not going to launch Lucy at him.
Poor Lucy.
R.I.P. Lucy.
So yeah, that is episode 5 of season 2 of The Boys. I thought it was really great.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So next,
have they?
Go.
I was gonna say, has anyone, Kripke or anyone else involved in the show, have they said how many seasons they're aiming for yet, or has that even come up?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right now is that there is going to be a 3rd season.
Oh, yeah, I knew they got renewed.
Yeah. I don't believe it's the last one, because I feel like usually when a show is successful and it gets renewed and they're planning that, they go ahead and let it go. So
yeah, I'm real curious, because I know I think Preacher only ended up getting 3 seasons on AMC, which is not a lot to cram everything that happens in Preacher into. And Boys had a pretty comparable run to Preacher, so I guess I'm just curious how long they want to try and stretch it out over.
Well, it had been a long time since I had read the Preacher comic book before watching the show, but isn't almost the entire first season of Preacher kind of made up for the show?
Absolutely.
And then season 2 and 3 is like what happened in the comics, just super fucking compressed.
Yeah, I only made it about halfway through season 1, and they definitely deviate with a lot of stuff from the first chunk of Preacher. And I know like the Saint of Killers and Star show up later, but I've not yet actually sat down and watched Preacher all the way through, and I need to.
I still haven't watched the last 3 episodes, which is stupid, but the show does get significantly more insane starting in season 2, and like really goes off the rails in season 3, where I'm like, this is on AMC. Does AMC have any idea what they're putting on television?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because Seth Rogen and Goldberg produced that too, right?
Yeah.
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 They were more hands-on involved with that, because they developed that. Like they're like backseat producing The Boys, but they did, like, Kripke developed this.
Yeah.
But they Rogen and Goldberg like really were very hands-on in development of Preacher. I think they directed the pilot and I think the first episode.
Okay.
The second episode, whatever, the one that followed the pilot.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Preacher, a show.
Yeah. So then next week we are going to be covering season 2, episode 6, The Bloody Doors Off.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And until then, Alex, where can people find more of you?
Twitter and Instagram at Alex Brunel. Come hang out and stuff.
Do it.
And
Dustin, where can people find you at?
You can check out DustinMeadowsComedy.com. It's got all my stuff, writing, my store, whatever else. Instagram and Twitter, you can find me at Dustin Meadows.
Yeah. And you can find the show at Who Watches Pod on Twitter. We are on Facebook, Instagram. We stream every week on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And you can find the podcast in any podcatcher of your choice. And actually, starting this week, we are on Amazon Music. Amazon Music is now doing podcasts, so should be easy to find, easy to listen to on any smart speakers. And yeah, hopefully we get some good highlights, because we're covering one of their shows.
Yeah,
so,
probably check out the podcast from the same app that you watch the show in.
Exactly. So yeah, check us out, leave reviews. We appreciate all those. And until next week with the bloody doors off, we gotta go.
Ain't you twits lucky that I showed up, eh?